Every time I do a podcast with Live at Home, I get very scared.
Holding back my upgrading intention for a while. As real estate agent, our income may not be that stable.
Properties, the overseas, all this kind of thing. It can be very messy.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Misheard, a podcast by the Misfit Collective. And today we have Kelly from Live at Home, and we have Mike, who's a certified chartered financial consultant.
Yes.
Chartered financial. So, Mike, maybe you can give a short intro about yourself.
Oh, I've been in the industry for 20 over years. This is my first job, so I'm still advising on a daily basis to the people around.
Thank you for coming today, Mike. And I think because Live at Home is about family, it's about asset progression through the asset elevation model. I think it's very apt that we have someone from the finance sector come in and talk a little bit about insurance as well as property. Maybe Kelly, now recently you have upgraded your home, right? You bought another place. You have, 4 children?
Yeah.
That's a big family, yeah?
Yes.
So how does insurance tie into all this, and how do you make such a bold move to purchase something that, to me, is quite beyond many people's reach?
I think the most important thing is I have been holding back my upgrading intention for a while. Why? Because I always feel that if, as real estate agent, our income may not be that stable. And if I upgrade to a relatively larger asset, my question is, how can I ensure that I'm covered enough and my income can substantiate for this amount? And I know that if anything happened to me, the property will be taken care of, as well as myself, I have enough coverage. So all these things were not actually ironed out. That's why it's only until recently, that's why I upgraded.
And you're saying that insurance can help you have that peace of mind.
I didn't know this.
Okay.
I just felt that that's a part of me. I think something were not really done right. I think I just want to, rush into buying real estate because everyone else is, without being clear of, am I covered enough? Will I become a burden to my family? What if I cannot work? Will my property be insured? It's only until later then I met Mike. He shared with me certain very essential things, and he shared with me that actually insurance-wise can actually help to protect my asset. And I no need to worry if, touch wood, one day if I'm not around anymore, my asset can be, fully paid, an asset for my kids.
Wow, okay. So you're saying that a lot of people don't think about this?
They just go through the motions.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of my clients, after they buy an asset, then they are just busy moving house and everything else.
Yeah.
Then when they take up a loan, the bank will say, okay, it's mandatory to get a home protection loan, insurance, and they just sign and choose the cheapest package, etc., and then they just move past it. But I feel that it can be done better. That's why when we spoke about it, he shared with me a few ideas, and then I realized that actually this awareness has to be raised to everyone.
Right.
I've shared this with a few of my clients about the way you can protect your assets.
Okay.
And some of them have already taken action.
Okay.
So that's why we are having this podcast today.
Great. Mike, so maybe you can share with everyone watching the podcast what you shared with Kelly.
Okay, because most of Singaporeans, I think all of us are very excited about getting a new properties, and we are really believing in the properties. That's why the property market is so hot. Yeah, so on top of that, doing that, I think we got to protect it, because most of the buyers will be either single buyers or even husband and wives. So when you cannot continue the the mortgage loans, then it's going to be a liabilities to the family members. So I just pose questions to Kelly. I say, what if you cannot work anymore in your property line, or what if you fall sick, or even like what she mentioned just now earlier, if you were to premature to not around anymore, so what will happen to the property? So most of the time is that with a single income, it's very difficult. Yeah. And you got to go into forced sales, you got to downgrade, and at the point of time, property, if it's not that liquid, and it depends on property cycles, and so then you can be caught in the wrong cycles. Yeah.
Kelly mentioned that when we get a loan in Singapore, by law, we need to protect. Do we?
Yeah, there's a home protection insurance.
Everybody must do that.
So long you're taking a loan, because it's mandatory. If you're taking a loan from the bank usually will have their own in-house some advised loan packages and to get tied up with the home protection.
In other words, there's nobody in Singapore who takes a loan for property and is not protected.
You can opt out for the ones that the bank offers you. You can choose your own.
I see, but you must have something.
You must.
Is there a difference with what the bank offers and what other people can offer when it comes to protecting our loans?
Okay, for loans from the banks, when they want to have protections, they usually is the fire contents insurance, because just in case if there's fire burn down, they want to have some insurance. Yeah, but here I'm talking about is that when the payer cannot actually afford the installments, if they are because of illnesses they are sick, or because they are not around anymore. So it's more of the payer themselves, not on the properties. Yeah.
In terms of a family unit and protecting an asset, or not even investment, if you live in a house and you have a family, what's the worst case scenario that can happen?
So my clients always tell me that, hey Kelly, if I buy this quantum of property, which I know is the right way to do because of asset elevation model, right? What if I lose my job? What if something happens to me? I cannot pay for this house anymore. What are the things I need to take note of so that I don't jump into something unclear of what to expect? So when I ask him or I talk to him about stuff, I think the key thing is that I ask him a very random question. I say, what if I take the plane and the plane crash? Then what will happen to my asset?
Because you go holiday very often, right? That's why.
We all go holiday often. And we cannot, we put our life at risk sometimes, you see.
Yeah.
So my biggest concern is what happens if we are not around anymore suddenly, and our family has to deal with a lot of things. And the last thing they want is being slapped with the mortgage bill. So that's why he shared with me there are two kinds of a mortgage, or rather home insurance, that you should be looking at if anything happens to me. And I kind of feel safe that my kid will still have a roof. They will not be chased out of their house.
Okay. Can we talk a bit about these two
Okay.
options?
Okay, so most of the conventional people will look into the decreasing term. That means just take a insurance, and then the coverage will decrease over the years, because you got to pay the installments. Your loans amount will actually drop. So let's say you take a 30 years loan, so the insurance will go to zero in 30 years time. So that is one of the economical way, because it's cheaper. But however, there's another kind which called the level term, because that insurance amount will actually stay throughout 30 years. Yeah, so it doesn't drop even as you do repayments. So what is the usage of this additional coverage even in the later years? Because most of us, I'm sure, will not be Kelly's last home. She probably may upgrade, in the later years. So this coverage can continue on. Yeah, you don't have to buy at a later age, because as we all know that insurance, when you buy at later age, you're actually more expensive. So that will actually can helps in the future loans that you are taking.
Understand, but if the quantum changes, like if
Yeah.
I upgrade my property, that one doesn't change.
The quantums doesn't change, but the period may have changed. Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can just top up the period.
Okay.
So it will be a smaller amount that you will taken up later on after you're upgrading.
Right. What do you both think? Does this apply only to help families, or what about people who have no kids? Is this as important?
I think let me imagine myself if I want to upgrade my asset to, let's say, a 3 million worth, and I have no kids. I would still think that with this property that I've paid mortgage for so many years, I do want to ensure that it's still insured. Even if I don't leave it for my kids, which I don't have, I would still want to leave it for my loved ones. Unless you tell me all my loved ones are not around anymore, then to my pets maybe, which I wouldn't. I mean, it's quite extreme, like, to have no loved ones around, right?
Yeah.
So since it's a mortgage I already paid, then I'd rather leave this asset to someone that I, behind when I'm not around. So
Yeah.
I do think that it's still valid.
Okay. So we're just talking about property and insurance now. What if we move property aside and we talk about insurance and family? How else did Mike help you in terms of your family planning when it comes to insurance?
So what we covered just now is about making sure that the asset that I'm going into is covered in case I'm not around. It gets fully paid off, and then and the process to get it fully paid off is actually quite seamless. So it's easy, and my kids will have a roof. Secondly, is also the question is, besides house, my health, accidents, or let's say I go into hospitals, touch wood and stuff like that. How much is actually enough? So the key question is, as layman term, we will not know how much is advisable. Of course, this part we will need to hear from the experts to advise us from our age right now how much coverage is good, because we also need to cater in this thing called inflation. So as such, maybe you can share how you advise me.
Okay, I think this is the favorite questions that all my clients will ask me. How much is enough? Of course, they will say that from a salesman point of view, they say that it's never enough. Correct? Yeah. So okay, to start off with, maybe I talk about the insurance first, the types of insurance first. For risk management, usually I will advise people to take the hospitalization plan, because hospitalization plan is the first frontliner. If you meet anything, you fall sick and hurt, have to go to hospitals. So that will be the first one. And then the other one, of course, is the death that comes in. And then, of course, critical illness, so we talk about like cancer, heart attack, stroke, kidney failures, those kind of stuff. And the favorite questions will be how much is enough? Usually, as a rule of thumb, we will just, for death coverage, we'll just do 10 years of our annual income. Yeah. For critical illnesses, it's usually about 3 to 5 years of your annual income. Of course, that's the rule of thumb only. But of course, there is because it depends on specific differences. Some people will have more kiasu, they want to have cover more. Some people will feel that, I don't need so much, so they may be lesser. So when my job is always to ask them, what do they really want to provide? At what level? Some people want to go at a high level. Some people want to just have something. Yeah. So it depends on the level. But as a rule of thumb, is 10 years of annual income or 5 years of their annual income for critical illnesses.
Oh, interesting. You have 10 years?
I think I overbuy, right?
No. You're not there yet.
Okay, thanks.
You're not there yet. You're not there yet.
I just met him, I think 2 weeks back, right? To review on what are things I can add on. Because I know next year I'm reaching 40. And if I don't start doing things now before I reach 40, I think as I age, and then I realize I want to buy, it's going to be more and more costly.
Yep.
So at this point of time, we actually look into, like what he mentioned, the sequential process of hospitalization and critical illness. And then we also talk about, we also discuss a bit on kids' savings plan.
Wow.
And also some retirement plans as well. I think we also added one more thing, which is the accident one.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I didn't buy accident plan.
You never had accident plan?
I never.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he was telling me, how would you not have accident plan when you are driving a car outside every day?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it may sound like very basic to many.
But some people we don't think about it.
Too busy.
Too busy with our own lives. That's
Yeah.
true. That's why we need financial advisors.
Yes.
Yeah. So hospitalization, critical illness, and accident plan is a must for us individually.
Right. And just now Mike was saying he has a priority list. So usually when you meet people and you advise them, usually you will go
Yes.
down
yeah.
that list like that, starting with hospitalization.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, the first thing is that I've got to look at what they already have, because in Singapore right now, I think it's very difficult to find someone without any insurance planning
Right.
at this point of time.
Right.
So they will have probably done something. So that's usually I'll look into what they already bought, and then see what are the gaps, and then I will come in to fill out the gaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, you mentioned saving plan endowment for your kids, right? And then just now we're talking about protecting your property, and then you talk about health and all that. When it comes to your values in LiveAHome, when it's all about family and the asset elevation model, how crucial and important is insurance outside of these things? What else is important? How does insurance play a role in this whole model?
Okay, so the very first thing is, as we know the importance of asset elevation, in order to use assets to work towards our retirement plan, we also need to make sure that as a person we are covered in terms of these basic stuff, and also the house is covered so that we can do our day-to-day things without being worried. I mean, of course, there's element of worry in some points or another, but major stuff have been taken care of. That has set me to feel so much at peace now that as I go on my day-to-day life and stuff like that. The only thing that we were debating on was, he mentioned to me about savings plan, which I asked him to prepare for me. And then, as we all know, saving plans involve commitment every month. And then his version of savings plan is very slow and steady. towards building a education fund for our kids if they reach like maybe university. And then that's where he also mentioned to me that actually some people started as early as even before the kid is born. This is something that I never practiced. I didn't know because that time I don't know him yet. But I also told him that the rate, as I look at the rate of, you know, how much you put in and how much you're going to take back, the returns,
Yep.
being investment point of view, I do think my point of view is real estate could be faster than that lah.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
real estate will be faster than that. So
Okay.
the savings plan got me realizing that there are people who want slow and steady. They want to commit themselves every month to pay a certain figure so that, you know, when it's time to take out the money, there's something for them.
Right.
But for us is in real estate, although as much as you may mention, it's not so, you know, it's not easily, it depends on market before you can sell. But I feel real estate to have the 100 to 200,000 gains over a short period of few years is
Yeah, it's the quickest. lah.
fastest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everybody can buy real estate, but most can buy a savings plan.
Yes.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
In Singapore, lah.
Correct. Because the quantums are very different.
Different.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So I mean, of course, if those people who can afford, and can use the vehicles as a property as a vehicle, but if not, then you talk about smaller quantums. You know, you can use insurance, like just now you mentioned endowments, or even right now the investment links. You know, investments. Yeah, we do have all those funds. You know, they can help to achieve that. But of course, if you talk about in properties, you know, the fast ways, you know, if the property markets is continue to climb, you know, then to gain the 100, 200,000 probably is easier, compared to the slow and steady ways. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mike, you also do wills, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So help me understand something. The last time we spoke to Debbie,
Yeah.
right, lawyer in LiveAHome.
Yeah.
So insurance, financial advisors can do wills and lawyers can do wills? No. You always need a lawyer, correct?
Okay, there is maybe misconceptions. Yeah, because a lot of people will think that only lawyers do wills. In fact, there are also like will writers. Yeah, so will writers, their main mission is to write wills only.
Oh.
They do nothing else. They don't do litigations. They don't conveyancings. They
Full-time will?
Yes,
Really?
correct.
Wow.
They are full-time wills writers in Singapore too.
Okay.
So that is, but that is not that popular. Because most laymen, I would think that they will be more into the lawyers, so they will think that that's only lawyers can do that.
Correct. So can financial consultants do wills? No. Or they just help you plan your will, is it?
So for me, I actually represent a will writer company, and so then we are advising them on. So we're going to go through trainings, to help to make sure that the wills are in proper stage.
Right. And I think it really goes hand in hand, this whole insurance thing, because insurance is a lot about protecting ourselves and our loved ones, and that ties in very well with wills, lah. Right? What's some advice that you can give to someone who's looking to write a will?
I guess a lot of people find that will writing is not necessary. Yeah, because they find that they may not have a lot of assets. They maybe have just one property, and some cash in the bank. I would say that even without a wills in Singapore, you still can live on. I mean, our parents' days don't have a will too, correct?
True.
It's just that, in fact, Singapore actually have a will written for everyone. It's called the Interstate Succession Act of Singapore.
Yeah, so if you pass on without a will, then it will actually fall under the Interstate Succession Act. So actually they include like rules. They will show like who you've left behind, and then depending on who you left behind, who your assets will go to.
It's just that is a will that is precast and you cannot change it. So unless you want to do something different, because in terms of proportions, you want to give it to different ones, so you want to write a will. And a will is important because it speeds up the whole process. If without a will, then it takes a longer time. And not that you will not get all your assets, not that the government will take all your assets back, but it just takes a longer process. That's all.
If I have insurance, do I still need a will for that?
Okay, insurance, you can actually do nominations. Nominations is out of the framework of a will. Yeah, so you can do nominations if you got insurance. You can do nominations. Your CPF, you can do nominations. If you got insurance with NTUCs, because they are cooperative, so you actually can do nominations too. That will be a different framework from wills. Yeah.
So that's separate from will?
Yeah, yes, correct.
I see. Okay, Kelly, do you have a will?
I've been like putting this off for the longest time, so it's about time we need to sit down and revisit this again.
Okay.
Because recently we just made some changes, so I guess it's really something I must do by end of this year.
Right. When you meet clients and prospects, so you talk about property, obviously. Insurance is something now you talk about also. Is will something also that you cover, that you talk to them about?
Okay, so I briefly share with them. I've done up this Excel for a schedule of assets. So I send out to my clients, for some of them who are already like kind of more settled down already with their upgrading plans. So I'll send it to them and I'll ask them to do this out when they're free. And most of us, we are really just a bit too busy to attend to this because it's the last thing on our mind. That's why I think to commit to this, we really need to get someone who is like, you know, to remind us, hey, it's time to do your will. You said you want to do this by end of this year, you must get it done, to remind us a bit. Then we can do it up. The schedule of assets is very easy to fill in.
Oh.
It's just something we procrastinate, I guess.
Every time I do a podcast with Live at Home, I get very scared. Because life actually very simple. Just you think you just live like that, but wow, there's property, insurance, wills, and all this. Actually, a lot of things to take care of if you really want to live properly and make sure that your loved ones don't suffer when you pass on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely for those people who believe that planning is important. Because I have two groups of clients. One is like, hey, why is it everything I must leave for my children?
Right.
I just have a few comments like that.
Right.
And I find it interesting because we live for ourselves, the client tell me. We live for ourselves. Why must everything for our children? Then I'm like, I'm sure. At the end of the day, everything that we own has to be passed down to someone. It's a reality.
Right.
It's not that we're living for them. It's making sure that when we pass down or when we pass on, we don't leave a lot of things for them that they don't know what to do with. So that's why we want to plan everything properly as much as we can so that we can go in peace.
I like that. You know that quote, right? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes, correct.
Planning super important.
Yes, yes.
There are people who really are not, keen to do that.
Right.
They think just like each day as it comes.
Okay, and then let's talk a bit about that. Yeah, let's talk about people. Keep it anonymous, but are there any interesting stories that you can share with us, Mike?
I mean, will is not something that a lot of people are actually doing it. And then nobody likes to talk about it because, what if you were to pass on and then what happens next? You say nobody wants to
It's
think
a difficult
about
topic,
that.
yeah.
Yes, it's a very
Yes,
difficult
yes,
topic.
yes.
But I guess that as we progress, I think this is something that we cannot avoid.
Yeah.
We want to talk about it unless if you want to do a very good transition to pass it to your loved ones.
Yeah.
So wills, most of the people who don't who wants to do it, they also procrastinate. The thing is because it's very difficult because you got to find someone to really you trust. Yeah, because they're going to have control over all your assets. And if you cannot trust this person, you cannot name the person as an executor.
Right.
The executor means the one who carry out your wishes.
Right.
Yeah. So that is a tough one. And usually I always advise people is that besides the first person, the first executor, you need to do the second layer. That means what if this first person not around anymore? So then you have the second layer. So they always get stuck, at the second layers, And so in the end, after I talked about second layer, they stopped because they couldn't find anyone. And then, that matters just rest,
Right.
So that's the most of the time the difficult part.
I see. Do you have any specific stories to tell? Have?
I don't have very candid one, yeah. But most of the time is that they will actually say that I will do this. I will, let's say husband and wife, they will pass it to their spouse, if they will pass on. But then I say, what if both of you like Kelly, say they travels,
Plane
so
crash.
often, plane crash, both of them gone, right?
Yeah.
So what is next, So they always scratch their heads, and then they say, I do not know who is next, whether some siblings. Then I give them some prompters, some siblings, some good friends. Then they say, couldn't really find someone they can trust, to handle everything or even for the welfare of their kids.
Right.
So that is actually put the stop, and then the conversation and the topic will just die. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes.
So what happens in a case like that? What else can we do?
I think the very first thing is when you go through this process, right? In order to inform your executor that you want to use your executor, you need two usually, ma. So for me, I have to think a lot to find that two executor, which I already did. and they are ready for me already. It's just I haven't taken action yet. That is really a test of your trust in people.
Right.
That's why people will hold back, because you really realize that you thought you trusted the person, but then when you really want to appoint them as the executor, all the beneficiary, the guarantor or whatever lah, you realize that I'm not really sure if they can carry out this work for me. So this is the part that I understand where Mike is coming from. Because as a person who is planning will, we have to find executor. We have to find what?
Guardians.
Guardian,
Young,
yes.
young
The
kids.
guardian is
yeah.
the one
Wow.
that we took a while. Luckily we found as well lah. And then one more is what? The trust.
Yeah, the beneficiaries.
The beneficiaries, right?
Mm.
So this one, I think we are quite clear with what we want. And then we need 2 of each, plus witness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can any of these people you appoint say no?
You have to tell them, and
So
if they don't want
they can reject.
Yeah, so far nobody rejected us yet lah. But there will be cases that people rejects you.
Right.
And then you probably will feel a bit, wow, I thought our friendship is more
Yup.
than that. You know?
So it's a test of friendship also. Writing a will.
Yes. Reflection about life
yeah.
and friendships.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They can say no. They can
can,
say no.
they can say
Even
no, and-
after
yeah.
you not around, they can say that I don't want to perform as an
Which is why you
executor.
need 2 also, right? Just
Yes,
it goes
correct,
down the line.
yes,
What if both don't? Then how? What
Then
happens?
that's it. Your wills are not valid
Yeah.
anymore.
But you're
Oh.
advised to
Yes.
revise it every 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So you more kiasu Singaporeans, then you take 3 lah.
Yeah. Okay, nah.
That's
Yeah,
a
can.
bit tough.
Can have a long list.
Can have a long list, but the problem is always coming out with the list, because it's to entrust your entire life saving and whatever accumulated over all the years to someone
That's right.
else. Yeah,
Not
that's
easy.
the task.
Not
Yeah, that's
easy.
a difficult task.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna change topic a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit about LPAs. Maybe Mike, can you tell us what an LPA is and why is an LPA important also?
Okay.
Yeah.
LPA stands for lasting power of attorney. Yeah, it's for someone who, let's say, they are incapacitated. That means they cannot think, cannot functions on their own. They have lost their mental capacity, and that's where you need someone to be a caregiver to help you in your daily. You make decisions for you. So that's where the LPA is. Yeah. So the LPA actually have 2 parts. One is for the personal, your personal well-being, and the other one is to control your properties, your assets. Yeah. So that's the because you don't have when you don't have the LPA, your loved ones cannot access to you. We are still around because a will only will kicks in when you pass on. But when you're still around and you are not able to make decisions for yourself, and that's where the LPA kicks in. Yeah. So if you without any LPA, then it takes a very, very long process for your loved ones to access to all your assets, or even money, to do for your well-being. Yeah.
In your line of work, how does LPA play a part and why is it important?
Okay, so as I mentioned, if let's say they are mental incapacitated, yeah, so they need this, because if not, the loved ones will have to come out money on their own first. Yeah, if they are well off, I think that's fine. But if some of them is very strapped, as you know that Singapore is very high cost of living, for them to take care of their own families, and if they have aged parents or people who they got to take care of, then it's going to be very tough, to come up additional income resources to take care of the mentally incapacitated person. So that's where the financial planning is. I find that it's very important, because if not, your whole family financial will be in the chaos.
Right. Is LPA in your asset elevation model also? No, right?
No, this is asset elevation model is mostly in the real estate part towards retirement. And then insurance is where it comes in to advise the loopholes that we need to fill in the gap. It's not just about everything all in for property. It's also the reality of little details that we could have overlooked in our life. That's why we need to make sure we work together to make this seamless for all our
Right.
clients and for ourselves.
Right. When somebody loses their mental capacity, it doesn't affect their insurance, right?
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't pay out anything.
Yeah.
For usual life insurance.
Alright, okay.
Yeah. But of course, you talk about the cash shield part, the national plan, that actually kicks in. Yeah.
What do you mean? Sorry.
The cash shield,
Yeah.
the national cash shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, where if you cannot feed yourself, you cannot bathe
Ah,
yourself,
right,
you
okay.
cannot perform any 3 of these activities.
Yeah.
They call daily activities. Then they will actually pay out. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But if you lose your mental capacity and you cannot even manage that finance, then that would be an issue.
That would be an
That's
issue.
why you need the LPA
Yes,
to kick in
correct.
and somebody can decide for you.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The most critical thing is a friend of mine. They are quite well to do, and they had an LPA they have already assigned an LPA. Then that's where he reminded me the importance of having LPA, because his dad was at the stage where they need to decide whether they want to save him or not, because it's already almost there already. So for a family to make that decision to pull the plug is not easy.
Oh, yeah.
So that is the importance of the LPA. Someone has to step up to make the decision for his life.
Okay.
So when I heard about it, I was like, wow, this person is even more important than my executor, because my life is at stake.
That's right.
Hopefully he make the right decision.
Yep. Okay.
Is that true?
Yes, for LPA, it's not just about whether your decisions, to pull out the plug. If you, in fact, the pull out the plug, there's another regime. It's called the medical directives. Yeah, so that you can have it to opt. You can write it in, and then so that if you are being machine survived, you can actually say that I don't want that, and the doctors will able to know that you have such directives in place, and then they will actually pull off. So you don't have to leave it to your loved ones.
Unless you don't have that, unless you don't opt in.
You can
Yeah.
opt in and
Yeah.
opt out.
Yeah.
Yes,
If you
correct.
don't opt in, by default it's opt out, is it?
Yes, correct. Yes.
And then when you are in that state, only somebody with LPA can pull the plug, or your family members can decide.
Yeah.
Usually they will discuss together,
Okay.
but that person has to be the one to
Yeah.
take action for you.
Very interesting. We're talking about a lot of important appointments today. We have LPA, we have executor, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about what are some factors that we can look at when finding someone like that. When you're appointing an LPA and executor, what are some of the things that we should bear in mind? No, I cannot just choose my best friend because I think it's my best friend,
Yeah.
right? But what are some factors that we can look into?
I think the most important is someone that you trust, because as an executor, as a donee themselves, they have the full power and rights, on access all your things. Yeah. So if someone that you find that you cannot trust, definitely they don't fit the bill. And for your welfare, it's not just trust, and for your welfare, they will that this person will take care of you and have you in mind. So that is the most important part of it. Yeah. And relationships sometimes, now you're good, years later,
Change.
yes, correct. So it can so that's why we advise people to always review whether it's the will, whether it's the LPA, their donees, to make updates on that, so that you can keep continue to have trusted person, taking care of your
Right.
well-being. Yeah.
So aside from someone whom you feel you can trust and whom you trust has your interest at heart, what are some other factors, Kelly, that you will look at when you're appointing someone, for LPA or an
Okay, so I'm going
executor?
to be very real here.
Yes.
I have executor, I have guardian, and all this in place. I haven't found my LPA,
Oh,
because I'm thinking whether I should get my friend to do both LPA and executor, which is okay, is all right as well. I'm just a bit holding this back for a while, because I think to put my life with someone,
Yeah.
it's a bit,
yeah. This is
Intense.
before death, different, very different from
Yes.
after death.
yes.
Yeah.
So
But
what are the things I'll look out for?
Yeah.
Whether, because firstly I want to make sure that this friend or this person that I assign does not have money issues.
Wow.
Meaning,
Interesting.
let's say my net worth is like, let's say 10 million. With everything that we add in is 10 million, right? Then this person must be around on par with me, or maybe even more. Then I know that there's no ulterior motive. I feel that's what I would do.
Okay.
And then second is also the values of this person that I assign must be about the same as mine. Like kids oriented, family, So they must be married with kids, with the right values. And then the third thing I look out for is the character. I wouldn't want to assign this to someone who is impatient or you make decisions rashly kind of thing. I would want to assign someone who has who thinks a bit more before she do anything, and as such, I feel that someone who is a bit more educated might work better for my situation,
Right.
because she knows more things, ma.
Right. Yeah. Someone
So
who's
these two-
responsible also, right?
Yes, definitely.
Responsible, make calculated decisions lah, not so rash.
Yes, correct, correct.
very good points.
There definitely will be people around you who are like that, lah.
Do
Just
you
not many, right?
do you both know any? I know I hate to talk about negative things, but do you both know any sad stories when it comes to will and LPA? Have you heard?
Unfortunately, I don't really have this topic with a lot of my clients. I only encourage them to make sure they do a will, make sure they plan properly, like how their property is insured, and also are they insured personally as well. Frankly, most of my clients, they already have financial advisors. I only raise awareness to them that this is something that you must look into, and something not just for yourself, also for your family. And then when we spoke about the term insurance for real estate, many of them didn't know about this. I share with them what I do for myself and why my financial advisor advised me as such. I think to each his own.
Right.
And then they felt that it makes sense. That's why these are the few things we talk about. Yeah, other than that, we don't talk about LPA. It's a bit too deep.
Yeah. Okay, understand.
Yeah.
Mike, do you think a lot of people overlook a lot of things?
Yeah.
In,
Yes.
in Singapore?
Yeah, they don't do it. They think that that is later on. They can always do later. In fact, recently I have a client who is actually 49 years old only, and she, the will writers got to really rush to the hospitals because she's really probably before her last breath, and then she was really thinking, coping with illnesses, and then still got to think, where how to going to pass the money, to our loved ones. It's terrible. Yeah, so we got to make that trip to the hospitals, to do the last minute, will writing. I think it's going to be very tough for the person. Yeah. So I always advise people to do it earlier, while they can, and then don't have to wait till the last minute. Sometimes it may be too late too.
Is there people, have you ever encountered people where they did a will, right? And then suddenly towards their last breath, they decided to change the will and appoint the beneficiary as someone else?
Of course, a lot. I mean, in my line of work, we got to keep our clients' things confidential. Some they last minute they can change their beneficiaries not to their kids, and to someone else, a third party. I mean, I happen to have those. Yes, correct.
So there are people who actually were all out to leave this for the kids, and then later on they realize that maybe the kid's not the best person, then they change at the last minute.
Yes.
Wow.
Feel very bad for the kids.
Something must have happened.
Something must have happened, probably. Yeah. Okay, one last question, Mike. What constitutes a good will?
Okay, as I mentioned just now, a will, you need to not just to looking at the executors and your beneficiaries, and your guardians. You need to just look into the second layer, because when your first executor doesn't want to perform or is not around anymore, then your wills will be invalid. Or even your guardians. If you appoint a guardian, you need to have a secondary guardians. Just in case they don't take up the role. So then you want to be foolproof it. So you want to put into that in place. And of course, sometimes, as a husband and wife, usually they like to put, if I'm not around, I give it to you, and if you're not around, you give it to me. They find that that's fine. In most cases, it's true. Yeah, but as mentioned just now, Carrie mentions that if you go holidays, both not around, so you got to think of the secondary persons. So that you can foolproof your wills, so that in any events that happens, the will still can carry on,
Right.
So you don't have to, the will becomes invalid, or in certain areas are not taken care of.
Right, so always have a backup.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
correct, yeah.
Kelly, what do you think?
I'm just wondering, LPA should have two also, right? In that
Yes.
case?
You have 2 donees, 3 donees, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I should really look into it.
And LPA right now, the governments are giving free. You don't have to pay for it. It's until March 2026.
Oh.
So you only just got to pay for the lawyers or the doctors to certify it. Yeah. But for filing it, it's free of charge
Oh,
till
wow.
then. Yeah.
So
So
you-
we do not know when the government is going to start collecting.
So better
fees.
do now lah.
Yes,
You-
correct. Before
you will help
2026.
me?
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. That's our next KPI.
Yeah.
And I think one more thing that I would want to ask is that a lot of people, when they do will, they will think that I'm just going to leave like maybe asset A to this kid, asset B to this one, all my insurance to my son, and my money in the bank from my another kid, that kind of thing. But I think what might raise up to me is that you really need to look at, when you are doing the will, how old is your kid? How much will your kid need from now that you're doing a will until they reach
So
21?
projection lah,
Yes, a projection.
Yeah.
Because every kid at different age need different things.
Mm.
That's why I'm putting this off, because the truth is I need to sit down and plan, like, let's say my daughter is 3 years old now. At this point, as I do the will until she reaches 21, how much is her daily living cost and everything? And then I also need to include like a helper for her.
Wow.
And I also need to include like education fund for her when she goes into primary school. All this I have to do it up, you know.
Sounds very tedious and specific.
But you really need to think about this. So you
Yeah.
really need to plan, okay, my girl, 3 years old, this is what she needs until 21. My 5 years old, this is what she needs until 21. My son, 13 until 21. So this whole thing involves a lot of planning.
Wow.
After you finish this, then you will now look at what you have and how can you plan it for them to fit all of this.
Mm.
Then, am I right? This
Yeah,
one?
it can be very detailed. I mean, for those people who have not done any will, I advise them to just do a will first. You know, you just do it first. For her, because you already think about that, then you can go into more detailed stuff. Yeah, to fit it in. Yeah, and one of the things that I always overlook is that a lot of people is that find that they finish the writing the wills, they are happy. You know, they have put the executors, different executors. But the one thing that the document is missing is actually the assets or schedules of assets. Because if you don't have that, you will leave your executors very
Lost.
lost, correct?
Yeah,
You don't know where to start off with.
Yeah.
So they will start writing, they'll get the lawyers to start writing to all the financial institutions, you know, the banks, the insurance company. And those cost money.
Yeah.
So each letters they cost can be a couple of hundreds. Yeah.
Right.
So that will cause a confusions. Yeah. But if you have listed everything down, then the lawyers actually can actually write to the specific institutions to talk about all your assets, how to
Right.
move.
How detailed is this schedule of assets? It's bank accounts, it's properties. is it
Whatever
what
you
else?
own, everything that
Everything
you
you
own.
own. This
Yeah.
table.
Yes, correct. Of values. I mean, if you have
value, okay.
collect watches, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
your Hermes bag, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, Chanel,
Which
yeah.
means every time you purchase something, you have to add inside this.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
tedious.
And who you want to give to.
That's right.
The more detailed a will is, the more busy your executor will be, correct?
Actually, it facilitates them better.
It does, you're right. If not,
Because-
they'll be at a loss. They don't
Exactly.
know where to look for what,
Yes.
what else you have and don't. Yeah.
That's something that I feel a lot of people, they just go in and write will and say, I want to give this percentage to this amount, this amount. I think this percentage thing is very vague. That's why we must really think deeper onto how, and that's how I'll do lah. Every individual kid's needs to decide how much to give to them.
Mm.
And it's not about being fair, equal amount, no. It's about what they need. Anything more, then is how you want to share.
Mm.
Basic needs must be taken care of first. Then excess, let's say you have excess of 1 million, then okay, divide by 3 or divide by 4.
Right.
I think that's more important.
I like that view. What
Yeah.
they need first, rather
Correct.
than what you want to give.
Correct.
Yeah. Look after their needs first. That's a very insurance thing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Needs based.
I guess I should be an insurance agent.
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
change lah.
Then can be property agent.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe to wrap up our session, the last time I shared this story, and it's something very close to my heart. That's why I also want to ask Mike a bit. So I have this friend, and his dad suddenly had dementia, and they don't have LPA. And it's too late now because the dad is totally, you know, and he has to take care of the dad. The dad has so many assets under him. What can they do?
What they can do, okay. First, of course, you can kick off the process to hold on to the assets. Yeah. So you got to apply to courts, you know, and let the court decide, you know, and probably there will be a lot of forms, you know, to get all the rightful beneficiaries to consent, for someone to. So that will take a longer process. I mean, you still can access to it. Yeah, just that it take a very long process to do that. So unfortunately, if that happens, then you can just go do one step at a time, lah. Yeah.
So after they settle all these things with the court, does it mean then it becomes like an LPA where they can decide for the father?
Yeah, that's where the court will appoint a deputy. They call that the person who is just like executors who will take in charge of the money, the welfare of it. Yeah.
The court decides?
Yes, the court decides.
Family cannot decide?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So the court will, the person who filed for it must be the rightful person, who fits in the bill or as a
next of kin lah.
Yeah,
right?
yes, correct. Yes.
How does the court decide?
Yeah, they will look at all your different loved ones, and then see who is the rightful person who will take care of the well-being of the parents, for your parents.
Wow.
For their parents.
And it's a long process lah. Huh?
It's a longer process. So you got LPA is straight away. It's very fast. Yeah, that you can access to all the assets and the well-being of the things. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
How long is the process to?
It depends on how much they assets. Like if they say they have a lots, companies, different properties overseas, all this kind of thing. They can be very messy. Yeah. So but then you will probably need only a portion of money that actually to keep on the well-being of the person. You don't have to really think of liquidating all the entire assets that the person is holding.
Right.
Because in this case, you are talking about the parents actually have quite a fair bit of assets. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you for that, Mike. What's one piece of advice that you can tell our audience as a financial consultant of 20 over years? What's one most important piece of advice?
I think it's just to do it, is to engage your financial planners, to go on this journey, of planning, because a lot of people are just avoiding that, and then we're always thinking that we are there, to sell that another product, that kind of thing. But it's walking the journey, with your financial planners to actually plan for that, and you got to just do it. Yeah.
Don't procrastinate.
Yeah,
lah.
don't procrastinate.
Yes. Don't procrastinate. Kelly, any final word before we wrap up?
Yes. I think I used to have trust issues with financial advisors. The truth. Because I think a lot of them are through cold calling. I think no judgment here. It's just that because there was no relationship, so we are entrusting a very important decision, something that we need to commit every month to someone and every month thereafter. So I have experience with not so good financial advisors, and I also have experience with good at financial advisors. I think what I would look out for to work with will be, does that person have the same value as me? Okay, for example, I would choose a financial advisor who also went through life similar with what I went through, so that they will be able to foresee what I will be going through and advise me my blind spots that I don't know. So that's what I constitute as a good financial advisor that's aligned with me. And then the second thing is also, is the financial advisor equipped with the right knowledge to share with me what are the things that I should look out for or think about if I want to do my will. Most of them, they don't. They will just, you're going to do a will, I just give you the contact. I noticed.
Wow.
So Mike actually helped me to look into this, which is the reason why I invited him to be part of LiveAHome. And the last thing I want to share is that in LiveAHome, we really don't want to just do this property transaction and finish off the deal. We really want to make sure that today, after you finish our property transaction with us and you believe in asset elevation model, you also need to get yourself covered and insured in the relevant areas that you should be, so that you can move on with your life every day in peace. So that's what we want to achieve as well. And all we are working towards is a safe and respectable retirement.
Perfect. Great sum up of everything. Thank you, Mike, for being on the show. Thank you, Kelly from LiveAHome. How can people reach out to you, Mike?
We can always reach LiveAHome. Then she will actually go direct to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been Misheard, a Misfit podcast. Till next time.